Elena Park wiped down table 7 for the third time that morning. The rag moved in tight circles, methodical, invisible. That's how she'd survived Seoul for 6 years, by becoming part of the furniture. Table 4 needs water. Madame Seo's voice cut through the diner's hum. Sharp, impatient. Elena nodded without looking up. She filled the pitcher, delivered it, returned to her station. The customers at table 4 didn't acknowledge her. They never did. In a city this loud, Elena survived by becoming quiet. Outside, Seongsudong pulsed with midday energy. Delivery bikes weaved through traffic. Office workers rushed past the windows of Hanil Corner Diner. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over cracked tile floors and narrow booths that had seen better decades. Elena checked her phone during a brief lull. 2 notifications. Rent reminder. Due in 3 days. Daycare message. Ari's pickup was delayed yesterday. Please arrive on time. She pocketed the phone and kept moving. Rent would come. Ari would be fine. She just needed to stay focused. You're slower than usual. Madame Seo appeared beside her, arms crossed. The floor manager's voice was low enough that customers wouldn't hear, but sharp enough that Elena felt it. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't seat customers. Elena nodded again. Apologizing was easier than defending herself. It always had been. She refilled napkin dispensers, cleared plates, smiled when necessary. The routine was predictable, and predictability meant safety. Until the door opened. The sound didn't change, the temperature didn't drop, but the room shifted. Goram Hyun stepped inside, tall, heavily built. Tattoos crawled up his arms, across his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. His movements were slow, deliberate. He didn't need to announce himself. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. A businessman at the counter suddenly remembered he had somewhere to be. He left cash on the table and walked out without waiting for change. 2 women in the corner booth glanced at each other. One of them whispered something. They both stood and left. Goram took a seat near the window. He didn't look at the menu. Madame Seo approached him with a practiced smile. It didn't reach her eyes. Good afternoon. Goram didn't respond. He just looked at her. She reached into her apron and pulled out an envelope. She placed it on the table in front of him. He picked it up, counted the bills inside, then tucked it into his jacket. Elena watched from across the room. This wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last. Madame Seo returned to the counter, her face tight. She avoided Elena's gaze. Now only 3 people remained in the diner. Elena, Madame Seo, and Halmayoni Yoon, an elderly woman who sat in the same booth every Tuesday and Thursday. She sipped her tea slowly, watching everything with sharp, quiet eyes. Goram gestured toward Elena. Coffee. His voice was flat, not loud, didn't need to be. Elena walked to the counter, poured the coffee, and brought it to his table. She set it down carefully, avoiding his eyes. Cream. She returned with cream. Sugar. She brought sugar. He didn't touch any of it. This wasn't about coffee. Elena's pulse quickened, but she kept her face neutral. She'd learned long ago that showing fear was worse than feeling it. Goram leaned back in his seat, eyes scanning the diner. He looked at the exits, at the spacing between tables, at Elena. You're new, he said. I've worked here 2 years. Then you're good at being invisible. Elena said nothing. He smiled. It wasn't warm. Smart. She turned to leave. I didn't say you could go. She stopped. Madame Seo appeared at Elena's side, voice tight with forced cheerfulness. Is there anything else we can get for you? Goram ignored her. He kept his eyes on Elena. What's your name? Elena hesitated. Elena. Elena what? Park. He nodded slowly, as if filing the information away. Elena Park. Okay. Madame Seo stepped closer. She's one of our best workers. Very reliable. Goram finally looked at her. I didn't ask you. Madame Seo's smile faltered. She stepped back. Goram turned his attention back to Elena. You have a kid? Elena's stomach tightened. Yes. Boy or girl? Girl. How old? 6. He nodded again. Good age. Still listens. Elena's hands curled into fists at her sides, but she kept them low, out of sight. Goram took a sip of his coffee, grimaced. This is cold. It wasn't. She'd just poured it, but she didn't argue. I'll get you a fresh cup. No, he said. You'll make it right here, at the table. Elena's jaw tightened. Madame Seo stepped forward again. We can, I said at the table. Madame Seo nodded quickly and disappeared into the back. Elena stood there, heart pounding. Gorham leaned forward. Problem? No. Good. He pushed the cup toward her. She picked it up and walked toward the counter. Behind her, Halmione Yoon sipped her tea and watched. If you've stayed with this story this far, it's because something in it already pulled you in. What happened next wasn't loud, but it was real. This is the moment silence stopped being an option. If stories of quiet courage and impossible choices speak to you, you're exactly where you should be. Support the channel by liking and subscribing. It helps us bring you more stories like this. And stay with me, because what comes next will shock you. Now let's continue. Elena poured fresh coffee into a clean cup. Her hands were steady. She brought it back to Gorham's table and set it down without a word. He stared at it, then at her. Taste it. Elena blinked. What? I said taste it. Make sure it's not cold this time. A man at the counter laughed nervously. He was middle-aged, wearing a rumpled suit. Just do what he says. Don't make trouble. Elena looked at him. He looked away. She turned back to Gorham. It's fresh. Then you won't mind proving it. Silence filled the diner like water rising. Madame Seo emerged from the back, saw what was happening, and froze. Elena reached for the cup. Gorham's hand shot out and knocked it over. Coffee spilled across the table, dripping onto the floor in dark streams. Clumsy, he said. Elena stared at the spreading puddle. Clean it up. Madame Seo nodded frantically at Elena. Do it. Don't argue. Just do it. A coworker, young Mi, who'd worked at the diner for 5 years, stood near the kitchen door. She met Elena's eyes for half a second, then looked at the floor and stepped back into the kitchen. Elena was alone. She walked to the counter, grabbed a towel, and returned. Gorham leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, watching. Elena knelt. The tile was cold beneath her knees. She wiped the coffee slowly, carefully, wringing the towel into a small bucket she'd brought over. Her hands shook once, then steadied. She looked around the diner. The man in the suit was staring at his phone. Madame Seo was pretending to organize receipts. Halmione Yoon sipped her tea. No help was coming. Elena finished cleaning and stood. Gorham smiled. Good. You learn fast. She turned to walk away. His hand caught her wrist, not hard, but firm. Where are you going? Back to work. I didn't say you were done. Elena tried to pull free. His grip tightened. Let go. Her voice was quiet, controlled. Gorham leaned forward. Or what? Something inside Elena shifted. She'd spent 6 years bowing, apologizing, staying small. For Ari, for survival. But silence wasn't protection. It was permission. Let go, she repeated. Gorham's smile widened. He pulled her closer, forcing her off balance. Elena moved. Not a pull, a pivot. She stepped into his space, rotated her wrist against his thumb, the weakest point of his grip, and twisted free. Gorham's expression changed. Surprise flickered across his face. He stood. The diner felt smaller. You want to do this? Elena didn't respond. She adjusted her stance, weight balanced, hands low. Gorham stepped toward her. She moved left. He followed. She stepped right. He lunged. Elena sidestepped and used his momentum against him, her hand redirecting his arm past her body. He stumbled, caught himself on a table. The man in the suit gasped. Gorham turned, rage replacing surprise. He swung wide. Elena ducked, but not fast enough. His forearm grazed her shoulder, spinning her sideways. Pain. Flared, she caught herself on a booth. Gorham closed the distance. Elena's breath came faster now. She scanned the space, too close to the tables. No room to move. He reached for her again. This time she didn't retreat. She stepped in, drove her palm upward into his chin. Not hard enough to injure, but enough to snap his head back. While he reeled, she hooked her leg behind his knee and pushed. Gorham lost his footing. He hit the floor hard. The sound echoed through the diner. Elena dropped onto him, one knee on his chest, her forearm pressing against his throat. Not choking, controlling. Don't move! Her voice was calm. Gorham's eyes were wide. Shock had replaced every ounce of confidence he'd walked in with. Elena looked up at Madame Seo. Call the police. Madame Seo didn't move. Now! Madame Seo fumbled for her phone. Gorham tried to twist beneath Elena's weight. She applied pressure, just enough. I said don't move. He stopped. Halmione Yoon set down her teacup. Young Mi appeared in the kitchen doorway, mouth open. The man in the suit stood frozen. Minutes passed. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. 2 officers entered the diner. They saw Goram on the floor, saw Elena holding him down. One of them recognized Goram immediately. Hyun? The officer's tone shifted. Not quite respectful, but familiar. They separated them. Goram was pulled to his feet. Elena was asked to step back. Questions came fast. What happened here? Madame Seo spoke first. There was a misunderstanding. Elena overreacted. He grabbed me, Elena interrupted. He spilled coffee and made me kneel. Then he grabbed my wrist when I tried to leave. One officer wrote notes. The other kept glancing at Goram. Is this true? The officer asked him. Goram said nothing. The man in the suit cleared his throat. I saw her attack him. Elena's stomach dropped. The officer turned to him. You saw her attack him? The man hesitated, looked at Goram, looked at the officers, then paused. No, I saw him grab her first. The officer frowned. Which is it? The man swallowed. He grabbed her. She defended herself. Goram was led outside. Elena stood in the center of the diner, surrounded by overturned chairs and spilled coffee. Being right didn't make it easy. The police took statements for 40 minutes. Elena answered every question. Where he grabbed her, how she responded, why she didn't just leave. I tried to leave. He wouldn't let me. The officer nodded, writing slowly. Goram sat in the back of the patrol car, hands cuffed. His face was blank now. No anger, no fear, just calculation. Madame Seo stood near the counter, arms wrapped around herself. When the officers finally left with Goram, she turned to Elena. You need to go home. My shift isn't over. Go home, Elena. It wasn't a suggestion. Elena untied her apron, hung it on the hook by the kitchen, and walked out. The sunlight hit her hard, bright, unforgiving. Her shoulder throbbed where Goram's arm had connected. She touched it gently, wincing. She walked 3 blocks before her hands started shaking. Not from fear, from release. She'd spent years holding everything in. Now it was pouring out and she couldn't stop it. Elena ducked into an alley and leaned. Against the wall, breathing hard. Her phone buzzed. Ari's daycare. Miss Park, just confirming pickup at 5 p.m. today? Elena checked the time. 3:47 p.m. Yes, I'll be there. She hung up and closed her eyes. 1 hour. She had 1 hour to pull herself together. By the time she reached the daycare, her hands were steady again. Ari ran to her, backpack bouncing. Yama. Elena knelt and pulled her close, breathing in the scent of crayons and apple juice. How was your day? Good. We made butterflies. Mine has purple wings. I want to see it. They walked home together, Ari chattering about her classmates and the new song they'd learned. Elena listened, nodding at the right moments, letting her daughter's voice anchor her. Their apartment was small. 1 bedroom, a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people, but the windows faced east and in the mornings, light poured in. Elena made dinner, rice, stir-fried vegetables. Ari sat at the table, coloring. Yama, why do people stare at me? Elena's hand stilled over the pan. What do you mean? At the park, the Ajumas always stare. Elena turned off the stove and sat down beside her daughter. People stare at things they don't understand. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. Do you think I'm pretty? I think you're perfect. Ari smiled and went back to her coloring. Elena's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Ms. Park? Yes? This is Officer Jong from earlier today. Elena's pulse quickened. We've processed Mr. Hyun. He'll be held overnight, but he's likely to be released tomorrow on his own recognizance. I wanted to let you know. Tomorrow? Yes, there's not enough to hold him longer, but we've filed the report. If he contacts you or comes near the diner, call us immediately. Elena thanked him and hung up. She stared at the phone. One day. That's all she'd bought herself. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Ari's soft breathing from the mattress beside her. What had she done? She'd protected herself, that was all. But protection had a cost. Her phone lit up at 11:43 p.m., a notification from a video platform she didn't recognize. Someone had tagged her. Elena opened the link. The video was shaky, filmed from a phone, but clear enough. It showed the diner, Goram grabbing her wrist, Elena twisting free, the fight, the takedown. The caption read, "Quiet waitress takes down local thug in Seoul diner." Elena's stomach turned. The video had 14,000 views. She scrolled through the comments. Who is she? Finally, someone stood up to him. She's Afro-Korean, right? Respect. Is this real? Elena closed the app, but the notifications kept coming. By morning, the video had 89,000 views. News sites picked it up. Waitress defends herself against known intimidator. Viral video shows Seoul diner confrontation. Elena's face was in every thumbnail. She called Madame Seo. I saw it, Madame Seo said before Elena could speak. Don't come in today. Why not? Because reporters are already here. They're asking questions. I can't have this. I didn't ask for this. I know, but it doesn't matter. Stay home. I'll call you. The line went dead. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, phone in her hand. Ari climbed into her lap. What's wrong, Yama? Nothing, baby. But that was a lie. Everything had changed. By noon, the video had 200,000 views. By evening, 500,000. A journalist called. Elena didn't answer. A producer from a talk show left a voicemail. Elena deleted it. She kept the curtains closed. Kept Ari inside. Her phone rang again. Another unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something made her answer. Ms. Park? The voice was calm, female, unfamiliar. Who is this? My name is Minna Choi. I run a private investment group focused on community safety initiatives. I saw what happened. I'd like to meet with you. I'm not interested. I understand, but I think you should hear what I have to say. Not because of the video, because of what comes next. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. What do you mean? Visibility brings scrutiny, Ms. Park. Your privacy is already gone. The question is what you do with what's left. Elena closed her eyes. I'm at a cafe 2 blocks from your building. I'll wait 1 hour. If you don't come, I won't contact you again. The line went dead. Elena looked at Ari, who was drawing at the table, then at the door. She had 53 minutes to decide. Elena asked her neighbor to watch Ari. The cafe was small, tucked between a convenience store and a pharmacy. Through the window, she spotted Minna immediately, mid-30s, wearing a simple black coat, hands wrapped around a cup of tea. Elena entered. Minna gestured to the seat across from her. Thank you for coming. Elena sat but didn't remove her jacket. You said I should hear what comes next, Minna nodded. The video will keep spreading. People will want to know your story, where you're from, why you fought back. They'll dig into your past, your daughter, your work history. Some will celebrate you. Others will find reasons to tear you down. Elena's jaw tightened. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, but it's here anyway. Minna set down her tea. I'm not here to praise you. I'm here to tell you the truth. You have 2 choices. Let this moment define you, or use it to build something that matters. Like what? A space where women learn what you already know. Self-defense, awareness, not just physical training, mental preparation, how to recognize danger before it escalates, how to respond without freezing. Elena studied her face. Why do you care? Minna's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Because I stayed silent once. Someone I cared about paid the price. She didn't elaborate, didn't need to. I have funding, Minna continued. I have connections. What I don't have is someone who understands what it means to be underestimated and still stand up. That's you. Elena shook her head. I'm a waitress. I have a daughter to take care of. I can't. You're a mother who defended herself in front of a room full of people who refused to help. That's not nothing. Elena looked out the window. A bus passed. People walked by, heads down, focused on their own lives. What if I say no? Then the video fades. You go back to work, maybe not at that diner, but somewhere. You rebuild quietly. And the next time someone like Gorham walks in, you hope it's not you he chooses. Elena's hands curled into fists on the table. Minna leaned forward. I'm not offering you safety. I'm offering you purpose. But it comes with a cost. Your life won't be private anymore. People will have opinions. Some will support you. Some will resent you for not staying invisible. I need time. You have 3 days. After that, I move on. Minna stood, placed a business card on the table, and left. Elena sat alone, staring at the card. She thought about Ari, about rent, about the weight of becoming visible. Then she thought about Goram's hand on her wrist, and every other moment she'd swallowed her voice. She picked up the card. 3 days later, Elena called Mina. "I'll do it." The space Mina secured was in Yongsan, an old warehouse, gutted and renovated. High ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows that let in floods of morning light. Elena stood in the center of the empty room. "This is it?" "This is the beginning," Mina said. "The rest is up to you." They started small. 6 women, then 12, then 20. Elena taught them what her father had taught her years ago in Busan before he'd passed, before everything had fallen apart. Awareness first. How to read a room, identify exits, notice who's watching, then movement, balance, leverage. "Size doesn't matter," Elena told a young woman barely 19. "Precision does." The girl nodded, practiced her stance. Elena corrected her foot placement, her hand position. Again. They drilled, repeated, adjusted. One evening, an elderly woman arrived. She moved slowly, leaning on a cane. "I'm too old for this," she said. "No one's too old to feel safe," Elena replied. The woman stayed. Word spread, not through advertisements, through whispers. A daughter brought her mother. A co-worker brought her sister. The studio filled. Elena worked mornings at a new restaurant, one that didn't ask questions, about the video. Taught at the studio in the evenings, picked up Ari in between. It was exhausting. But it was hers. Months passed. Goram's life moved in the opposite direction. He'd been released after one night, just as Officer Jong had said. But the video had done what jail couldn't. People who'd once stepped aside when he entered a room now ignored him. The tattoo shop, where he'd spent hours getting inked, refused his calls. When he showed up in person, the owner locked the door and flipped the sign to closed. At the restaurant where he used to collect payments, the manager handed him a mop instead of an envelope. "You work like everyone else now, or you leave." Goram took the mop. No one feared him anymore, and without fear, he was nothing. He moved from job to job, unloading delivery trucks, hauling boxes at construction sites. A supervisor half his size shouted orders at him. Goram obeyed. One afternoon, he stood outside Elena's studio. He didn't go in, just watched through the window as she demonstrated a wrist escape to a group of women. Then he walked away. Another month passed before he returned. This time, he knocked. Elena opened the door. They stared at each other. "What do you want?" "I need work," Goram said. Elena crossed her arms. "You think I'd hire you?" "No, but I thought I'd ask." "Why?" He looked past her, at the studio, at the women practicing. "Because I don't know where else to go." Elena studied his face. No arrogance, no threat, just emptiness. "You don't get to teach," she said. "You don't get access to students. You carry equipment. Clean mats, that's it." Goram nodded. "And if you step out of line once, you're gone." "I understand." Elena stepped aside. "Then get to work." Goram mopped the floors after every session. He arrived before anyone else, left after everyone was gone. The women didn't speak to him. Most wouldn't look at him. He didn't blame them. One evening, a student's water bottle rolled toward him. He picked it up, held it out to her. She flinched. Goram set the bottle on the bench and walked away. Elena watched everything. She didn't trust him, didn't forgive him. But she let him stay. Not out of kindness, out of accountability. Redemption wasn't a moment. It was repetition. Showing up, doing the work, earning nothing. Weeks became months. Goram never asked for more. The studio grew. Mina helped Elena secure a grant. They expanded into the adjacent space, added evening classes, partnered with schools. Ari started training too. At first she was shy, but Elena taught her the same way her father had taught her. Stand firm. Look forward. No one decides your worth but you. Ari's strikes became sharper, her voice louder. One Saturday, the studio hosted a community event. Families arrived, local business owners, city councilors. Mina stood at the entrance, greeting people. Elena prepared to speak. She'd written notes, practiced in the mirror, but standing in front of 200 people felt different than facing down one man in a diner. Mina touched her shoulder. "You don't need to be perfect, just honest." Elena nodded. She stepped onto the small platform they'd set up. The room quieted. "A year ago, I was invisible," Elena began. "I kept my head down, apologized when I shouldn't have. Let people treat me like I didn't matter because it felt safer than standing up. She looked at the faces watching her. Then one day I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Not because I was brave, because I ran out of space to disappear, but a few people nodded. What I learned is that strength doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for the right moment. It shows up when it has to, and it takes responsibility for yourself, for the people around you, for what happens next. She paused. This studio isn't about fighting. It's about refusing to be silent when silence costs too much. It's about teaching our daughters and our sons that they deserve to take up space, that they don't have to shrink to make others comfortable. Applause rippled through the room. Elena stepped down. Ari ran to her, wrapping her arms around Elena's waist. You did good, Iyama. Elena kissed the top of her head. Across the room, Gorham stood near the back wall, holding a stack of folded chairs. Their eyes met briefly. He nodded once. She didn't nod back, but she didn't look away either. Later that evening, after the guests had left and the space was quiet again, Elena walked through the empty studio. Sunlight slanted through the windows, painting the floors gold. Minna appeared beside her. You built something real here. Elena smiled faintly. We built it. Minna shook her head. I gave you resources. You gave it a heartbeat. They stood in silence for a moment. What happens now? Elena asked. You keep going. The work doesn't end. People will still test you, doubt you, try to take what you've built. But you know how to stand now. Elena thought about the diner, about Gorham's hand on her wrist, about every moment she'd stayed small to survive. I'm not the same person I was. No, Minna agreed. You're not. The next morning, Elena walked Ari to school. The streets were crowded with the usual chaos, delivery trucks, commuters, street vendors calling out their specials. But Elena moved through it differently now. Not apart from the crowd. Part of it. Ari skipped beside her, humming a song from class. Yama, can I bring my friends to the studio? Of course. Even the boys, Elena smiled. Especially the boys. Everyone needs to learn. They reached the school gates. Ari hugged her quickly and ran inside. Elena watched her go, then turned toward the studio. The sky above Seoul was bright and clear. No fog, no mist, just open horizon. She walked forward, one step at a time, not invisible, not perfect, just present. And that was enough. What Elena did didn't turn her into a hero overnight. It just changed what she was willing to accept. And sometimes, that's where real change begins. If this story stayed with you, sit with it for a moment. If it reminded you that silence isn't strength, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want more stories like this, told without noise or exaggeration, you can support the channel by subscribing. Thank you for watching.